You're listening to the Small Business Talk podcast with Cathy Smith. Episode 29.
Small Business Talk is a podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want a better way to run their businesses without spending years doing it the hard way. Small Business Talk is hosted by Cathy Smith, who has run the same marketing agency for more than 17 years and helped hundreds of business owners achieve their marketing goals.
Hey, I'm so glad you could join us. Today, my special guest is Kerry Ridley from My Little Bookshop, a lady who has turned her passion into a business. And in Kerry's intro, she says, "When I tell people that I'm selling books in a retro caravan, a travelling bookshop, quite a few people say, but people don't read anymore. Like it's a thing." Well, people do read, but it's not something that we're out there bragging about. I mean, everybody has dinner, but we don't all go to the rooftops and shout, "I eat dinner. I know how to drive a car." People definitely do read, and Kerry and I will discuss that. Welcome, Kerry.
Morning, pleasure to be here.
Okay, so My Little Bookshop. That sounds very intriguing. Tell us about your business and what it actually is.
My Little Bookshop is a vintage caravan that travels around WA selling new and used books, going out into the country towns and to city events. The uniqueness about it is that it is the only mobile/travelling bookshop in Australia. It's a fairly niche kind of business I've got going.
Excellent. So is it like a actual shop within a caravan?
Yes, the back of the van opens up. So it's like one big hinge at the back of the van. So that opens right up and there's a step, I call it the grand staircase, that you can actually walk inside and browse and buy some books, and it's all there on the shelves and it's good fun. I've set it up sort of like a Happy Days diner.
Oh, wow.
Yes, very sort of 50s. At this point, I'm just testing different places, different markets for different books. It's like half new books, half used, and probably quite a few of my favourite authors in there at the moment as well.
Excellent. Yeah. So lots of pre-loved and lots of memories.
Oh, yes. I do have this classic kids section, which is all the Enid Blytons and Peter Pans and Winnie the Pooh, that sort of thing. I tend to find that at this point I'm selling more of the kids' books at the family events that I go to, and they are all very brand orientated with Disney, Frozen, them sorts of things. But then when I go out to the country towns, the kids are just more interested in, the old school books, shall we say, the old classics. It's interesting to see the difference with like the urban versus the regional and what the people prefer and what the kids prefer.
It's very interesting because I hear Enid Blyton's becoming the must-read popular author again. So what's new's old and what's old's new.
Yes, she's back on trend. So
I'll have to find some of my old ones and maybe donate them along to a new house.
Yes. Actually, to be honest, I do have all my Enid Blyton books from when I was a kid, but they're not in the van. They're at home. So.
Fair enough too. Is this something that was a passion that turned into a business, or how did you get started into selling out of a caravan?
Well, the travelling's always been there. My dad, we were sort of living life in the suburbs in Rockingham as kids, and one day my dad said, okay, as a family of 5, we're going to pack up and travel around Australia in a caravan. And I was 12 at the time, so it was all very exciting. I did the correspondence schooling, which back then was all done by mail and post. Before we left, we had to go to the education department, get all my stocks of the curriculum for the year, and that consisted of a lot of reading material. 3 months into the travels, I'd read all the books because it was just, to me, like winning lotto. I had all these books to read, and for about 18 months travelling around Australia and stopping at all these different little places, and which was fantastic because to just experience all of that, to experience from an early age, different places, different towns, different kinds of people, it was just, it's hard to explain. It was just one of them things that has been entrenched in my brain my whole life.
So the travel bug was really set in right there, and the books as well.
Very much. And then we come home and we went back to life in the suburbs. Life moved on. So I've done a lot of travelling, lived overseas, and which is another fantastic experience to give you different perspectives of life. And I found that living overseas, for me, I tended to buy the local book, buy the local newspapers, and obviously get to know your neighbours and things like that. And they're telling you what local authors they have, that sort of thing to get into. So that was the overseas experience with reading. Came back to Perth because I had grandchildren. That sort of travel side of things was finished. And I've pretty much spent my last 7 years corporate, CBD.
So quite a different.
Very different. Anyway, as life does happen, things get automated and people get made redundant.
Yay!
Yes, so I had to be creative to sort of think, well, okay, what do I want to do for the rest of my working life? And I thought this is a good opportunity for me to combine, I guess, the two things that I love the most, which is the reading and the travelling. Took me a few months to find the right van. I didn't want a standard food truck. I knew the vision and the style and the look that I wanted it to be. And out of the blue, on Gumtree, of all places, there was this van with the back of it all like open, and in the back of that was a vintage car. I thought, that's the one for me.
Wow, so you didn't actually have to modify it that much. It already had the hinge back.
Yes, it already had the hinged back, and it was a big, open, blank canvas in the back.
Perfect, absolutely perfect.
Yeah. The colour was a little bit different. Been about 6 months of renovating the caravan and been doing events and that now for about 3 months.
Excellent. So really turning that passion into a business.
Yes. Initially, my thoughts were, oh, this will be nice. I'll have my caravan and I'll travel around and I'll sell books. End of story. And it's like, okay, this isn't actually quite that simple. Then once I sort of figured out this is actually quite a niche little market, people were very supportive of the concept and the idea. Then I thought this could actually probably be something and a good income stream for me, and just bringing people back to reading books, and with all the retail closing, just to be able to give people back that, I love reading. You guys must love reading. Yeah, it sort of went from that little idea to now copyright, trademark. I have businesses now contacting me to ask if I'll be at their event, and all the behind the scenes of small business. That's just been quite mind-blowing.
Fabulous. What do you say is the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome so far?
For me, I know this might sound a little bit ageist. However, for my age and my age group, I find that the technical side, like I'm happy to delve into the social media and the websites, and that's all part of the world we live in now, and that's wonderful. But it's the behind the scenes technical side of that is probably my biggest obstacle.
Okay.
And sourcing people who I can trust to make that work for me so that it's very marketable when it's out there online.
Yes, making sure that your brand is consistent all the way across.
Yes, now that I've figured out what my brand is.
And sometimes that takes a little bit of work and trial and effort as well.
It does, yeah.
Okay, so I guess there's a few things there. It's definitely that unique being able to touch and feel the book, because, of course, when Kindles and so forth came out, people said books will die, but as we know, that's definitely not the case. Yes, going to those country towns where they don't actually have a bookshop where they can go and browse first. It's not quite the same experience looking online, to actually being able to feel those papers and get that real sense of smell and what a book actually looks like.
it's like an event in itself. I was talking to a lady the other day. She was telling me she's actually going on a date, and her date is they're meeting up in the bookshop.
Oh.
So I said, well, that could be interesting depending how the date goes as to what section of the bookshop they need to be in. But yeah, I think the whole, like 10, 15 years ago when, the Kindles all came in and there was the downfall of the books. And I think even Steve Jobs said nobody's going to read a book anymore. And it's like, well, yes, that hasn't happened.
No.
And there is a growing trend, I guess is probably the word for it, that people are getting tired of a constant screen in their life. So they have the screen for work, for home, for the personal life, for the dating life. Everything revolves around the screen. And people are getting a little bit over it.
Yes, and it's also affecting our sleep. So they're now suggesting that you actually go back and read a paper book at night rather than being on the screen, so it's not flashing and affecting your sleep. So it's definitely a resurgence in books, so that's great.
Yes, they call it the blue screen.
Yes.
I think it's like, there's just too much of it for us. Yeah, so what's been really interesting is reading all the financials, and that ebooks have actually been declining for the last 5 years by 1% every year.
Wow.
Hard copy books are just on that slight increase because people still want the experience of that again.
Yes. And I suppose also that's part of technology too. It's so much easier now to do the print on demand. So it's just as easy to do a small book run as it is to do an ebook. So you can have that physical, I've actually bought something, as opposed to a computer file that you've filed away nicely and forgotten all about.
Yes, and my youngest daughter, she's 24, and she when I first said that this is my idea and this is what I'm going to be doing, and she said, Mum, young people don't read anymore. And then I was like, they actually do. I said, maybe not you, sweetheart, but And then she come back to me and she said, actually, Mum, I think you need to sell coffee table books because we all want them in our apartments to make us look educated. Which I thought was the sweetest thing to say, but she's right, actually. Being out and about, I don't like using the word millennials because it sort of puts us all in a box, which I'm not a fan of. But yeah, the younger ones, they do like the picture books and the coffee table books and then the cooking books, them sorts of things. So I'm slowly finding age groups, their interests and all of them sorts of things. And they love the stationery too.
Yes, very much so. That's become huge.
Yes. So what I've done, because obviously to sustain a business long term, I know that it can't just be selling books. So, I have sort of gone out into local graphic designers who do greeting cards and stationery. So I stock that. I'm also into promoting like local authors. So I have 2 local authors. I sell their books for them. So, and we have like great rapport, great connection. And I just love the fact that I can tell people that these books are WA authors and they're just as good as every other book out there that's in the top 10 list.
Fabulous. So promoting Western Australia, what a great thing to be doing.
Oh, definitely. After being a lot of places in the world over the years, you come back home, which it is, and you just think this southwest of WA is just like heaven on earth. You walk along the beach and you think people pay thousands of dollars to do these holidays and it's on the doorstep. So that's all wonderful. Yeah.
Fabulous. For people that have a passion and thinking about making it into a business, do you have any suggestions that you've found that have been helpful along the way for you?
I've actually found that there's many more resources out there available than what I thought. The government resources and their websites are very, very helpful. And I'd probably suggest whatever area you're in to go and seek out your business advisory office because they have their free business coaches who are a wealth of knowledge and information. I'd also probably suggest, I tend to sort of dive in to things. It's like that Richard Branson, just go ahead and do it and work it out later, which is what I've been doing a lot of and learning very quickly. I guess probably a little bit more research into the financial side of things and the cash flows and having some capital and that type of thing, I think is probably a bit of a get into subject to research and take the baby steps.
Perfect. But take those steps and do continue to move forward, because sometimes you have to fail forward, as they say.
Oh, definitely.
To be able to move and then pivot to where you need to be.
Yes, I feel like I just plod along each day, trip over, hop back up and think the sun goes up, the sun goes down, but just carry on. You've got to have that perspective in life that as long as you're doing something and you're moving forward, it doesn't matter how big or how small the step is, you're doing it. And it doesn't have to be smooth sailing.
No, it's that meme, isn't it, that we all see what we think success would be like. It's a nice straight up and down line, and what it really is, and it's that total mess of knitting wool everywhere, and it's a bit of a mess. And I mean, that's life in business. Oh, absolutely. My office is the smallest room in the house, and there is just books surrounding me. I work off an old 50s dressing table with a laptop, and it's like, that's my office, and you sort of think one day it's that vision of having space and an office. But that is the reality of small business. But what would happen if you had space? You'd just have more books. Yeah, I'd fill it. Yes. My house is turning into one big library. Research. So is there any other suggestions that you could give our listeners if they're thinking about turning their passion into a business? Just go for it. Beautiful. Absolutely go for it. Because over the years you sort of tend to learn, you look back and you think, 5 years ago I was going to do something and I had a passion for it and I never did. And it's now 5 years later, and that can last a long, long time for people. Take the punt. Mm-hmm. So one of the things they say is, when's the best time to do something? Way back in the beginning when it started. When's the second best time to do something? Right now. Because like you say, 5 years will disappear very, very quickly. Yes. Excellent. Okay. I think we're down to my final 5. So I asked my guests 5 final questions. Okay. Are you game? Oh, hope so. Everybody gets scared right about now. Okay. Fire away. Okay. What is the best advice given to you by a mentor? Yeah, I would have to say, just do it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Moving forward imperfectionally, I think, is sometimes the best way to go. Yes, because you're doing something and you're making your life better, and people around you, you're making their life better too. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, what is the biggest help you've received since starting? The biggest help is in resources, I must admit, has come from Small Business WA. They've been very, very helpful. So Small Business Western Australia. Yes. We have American audience as well. Oh, okay. And WA in America, of course, is Washington. Yes, it is. So that's probably, in a practical sense, I would say, go to your local government agency and find out all the resources that they have available, because there is a lot. Emotionally, the biggest support has probably been from my family and friends, who I thought might have been a bit, here she goes, off on Crazyville. And they've actually all been very, very supportive and very helpful, and they help me out a lot. Yes. Excellent. Okay, what is the one thing you have to do every day, your non-negotiable? My non-negotiable is setting up my office structural routine. I've now figured out I have to have that structure every day. I was so used to it in a paid working corporate life that when it come to small business, there was no structure. Yes. So I make sure that every single morning, 5:30, out of bed, cup of tea, cross-trainer, shower, hit that office that's in my house. Yeah. And I have to have that structure each morning. When I first started my business, I went through periods where I wasn't as productive as I could have been. I got myself a uniform, and that was my mindset. Once I put my uniform on, I was in work mode. Yes, I put the lippy on. Yeah. Didn't always quite get that far, but yes, definitely once I put my uniform on, that was work mode. That's such a great idea. I love that, yeah. So, it's just those little mindset tricks that we can set ourselves up so that we've gone from being the Kerry or the Cathy at home to being in work mode. Yes, I'm a professional business owner. Yes. Yeah, it's very important. This will be a good one for you. What is your favourite business book and why? Because
There's about 10 sitting on the shelf at home. My favourite business book, I would have to say Richard Branson, only because as much as there's sort of general overview ideas that he has, they're just so like down to earth that it's like the layman can get it and be enthused by it and think, yes, I can do this. And another one, I can't remember the name of it, Darren Hardy though, and something about the roller coaster of life. And you will actually get worksheets in it that you can download, and each chapter he's giving his insights into how he messed up plenty of times. Same thing. It's not difficult. It's all just nice, easy layman's terms to understand, to think, yes, I can do this, and yes, I can build my vision, and yes, I can see my long-term business being very sustainable and growing. But yeah, with Darren Hardy, you do get to do the worksheets with that, which I love, because that's more than another part of a structural routine for me. Yeah, that keeps me going and helps me out to be part of my daily routine.
Excellent. Well done. And the final one is, what do you wish you had known when you started out?
Everything. That's a hard one to answer. In practical terms, I wish I had known more about technology, because that is the one thing for me as a skill set. I still need to learn so much more. I don't know. It's because that's all the fun and part of it, is things that you don't know, that you come across and you've got to solve them. You're the owner of the business. You need to solve it. So to me, that's all part of the ups and downs and the fun of it all.
Absolutely. I was just listening to a podcast by Troy Dean, who runs WP Elevation, and he was saying that if you want everything to be smooth sailing, that you probably better stick with being an employee rather
salaried
than
employee.
Because, in a small business, it's not smooth sailing at all. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes you've got wind, and sometimes you don't.
Yes, and the hats. I need a hat stand at home for the amount of different hats I wear.
Absolutely. It's great when you get to that size in your business where you can start then delegating some of those hats. So I look forward to seeing you grow into that area in the near future.
Thank you. It will happen.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Kerry. This has been very interesting. For people that would like to know more about your little bookshop, or for those people in Western Australia who may actually like to go and visit you, where will you be in the next few months?
Okay, in the next few months, I am basically doing a lot of events down south. I've got a road trip to Cathy in mid-September. If you go to my website, which is mylittlebookshop.com.au, and I'm also on the usual suspects for the social media on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is My Little Bookshop 19 and Instagram is My Little Bookshop _. You just have to look for the little blue bubble caravan. That's my logo.
Perfect. Yeah. And we'll put those in the show notes so people can click on them directly.
Oh, that'd be great.
So, excellent. So thank you very much, Kerry. And everybody, have a very good week.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to Small Business Talk podcast and head on over to smallbusinestalk.com.au/downloads for all the show notes and links to this episode. Remember, to be great, you must start. Pick one tip from today's episode, take action and implement it. Let's meet again next week at the same time and place. Until then, take action. And SBT community, enjoy your journey.